Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to like, comment, follow, share, and subscribe. Now let's get on with today's show. Writing your book is just the first step in your self-publishing journey. Though you might not believe me now, it's also the easiest part of being a self-published author. So let's see how ready you are for what comes next by taking this quiz. Of course, even if you do well on this quiz, there's no guarantee that your self-published book will be a success. But I found that authors who are serious about their self-publishing careers have these foundational skills, experience, and knowledge. After you take the quiz, note any questions for which you did not have the right answer. These will be topics that you'll need to investigate and understand before you begin self-publishing. Are you ready? Question number 1. Have you ever written or published anything before? Question 2. Have you developed a plan for the editing and proofreading of your manuscript? 3. Do you understand the difference between traditional and self-publishing? 4. Have you researched and chosen a self-publishing platform yet? 5. Do you understand what media liabilities apply to you and your book? 6. Have you established an ideal reader profile for your book? 7. Do you know how big your author platform is? 8. Can you predict how many book sales you'll make in the first year? 9. Do you know how much it will cost you to self-publish your book? 10. Do you know how to determine a good price for your book? So how do you score your quiz? If you didn't answer yes to all of those questions, you're probably not ready to self-publish. So let's dig into the topics in each of the quiz questions. Number 1, your writing and publishing experience. Is writing and publish experience required before you self-publish a book? Technically, no. However, having experience getting your writing out to the public is a huge advantage. By testing the publishing waters, by doing articles, blogs, that kind of thing, you'll become accustomed to dealing with public praise and criticism. You'll also begin to understand what content resonates with your readers and your ideal readers. My biggest concern with inexperienced authors is that they are susceptible to self-publishing scams. From the inquiries I receive from many newbie authors, they're often overly optimistic and unrealistic in their plans. So when they see scammy offers that promise them wild self-publishing success, they can easily get sucked into these programs that waste, maybe even steal, their money. Topic 2, editing and proofreading. One of the reasons that self-publishing gets such a bad reputation is that self-published authors often spend little on the important editing phase of their manuscripts. Some of them don't even understand what editing actually is. Yet editing and proofreading are the key quality control efforts for your self-published book. Self-editing is a skill that you need to develop as an author. Even if you also hire professional editors, you will be doing at least the first pass of editing on your own. You need to be able to look at your work objectively and critically. That skill only comes with experience and practice. Beta readers may also be engaged to offer feedback on your book. These beta reviews are not book reviews on Amazon. They are done prior to publication so that you can make changes based on their feedback. Be aware that editing and proofreading are not the same thing, and you need both. Editing deals with the content, proofreading deals with the mechanics of language. Hiring a professional editor is recommended, especially for new authors with little writing experience. There are usually multiple rounds of editing and proofreading throughout the process of self-publishing. Topic 3, traditional publishing versus self-publishing. In summary, traditional publishing is getting a book deal or contract with a publishing company. That means they shoulder the expenses of publishing, producing, marketing, legal, and distributing your book. Self-publishing means that you are both the author and the publisher and shoulder all the expenses and work of producing the book in addition to writing it. There are advantages and disadvantages to both traditional and self-publishing options, but you should explore both before you make a decision one way or the other. I really can't get into that in this video. I know I've talked about it elsewhere, and there's a lot of information about it also on YouTube, so explore both before you make a decision. Topic 4, choosing a self-publishing platform. One of the first and biggest decisions you'll need to make when self-publishing is what self-publishing platform you will use to produce, distribute, and sell your book. All of your next moves will depend on this choice. My personal recommendation is to go with a reputable company who has been in the business for a while. The popular reputable players in the self-publishing game are Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, Ingram Spark, Lulu, and BookBaby. All of these have advantages and disadvantages, and you should research any self-publishing platform before signing on. Topic 5, your media liabilities. Media liabilities are legal issues relating to publishing. This could include libel, slander, invasion of privacy, copyright infringement, breach of confidentiality, and a whole lot more. It also concerns disclaimers that you might need to include in your book to help protect you from lawsuits. Yes, even fiction needs to be concerned about all of these things. Have you ever seen at the end of a movie where there's a big paragraph that says any resemblance to real people or events or situations is purely coincidental, etc., etc., etc.? That is a legal issue regarding fiction. Don't go it alone with these issues. Consult an attorney who specializes in media liability and intellectual property about preventive measures you can take to protect yourself legally when you self-publish. I'd also suggest that you educate yourself on media liabilities. I highly recommend the Self-Publisher's Legal Handbook. As I'm recording this, it's in its 2nd edition, I believe, and it's by Helen Sedgwick. This is not a sponsored mention. It is just a really darn good resource on these issues. So read it. Next topic, your ideal reader profile. I have been absolutely stunned by the number of authors that I've encountered on social media and as clients and networking colleagues who have given zero thought to who will read their books once they're self-published. This is at the heart of why many self-published authors fail to make book sales. They don't know who they're selling to. Yes, you can write a book for your own enjoyment with no regard for who will read it. But if you plan to make some money with your book, developing a profile of your ideal reader prospect is a critical initial step. Who is that reader? What is his or her age, educational level, marital status, job, sexual orientation, hobbies, fears, values, and on and on. Make a list. Then target all of your marketing and social media efforts to reach that ideal person. Next up, your author platform. You may have heard this term bandied about as you've started to investigate self-publishing. Your author platform is your fan base for your work. Your fans are all of your loyal followers on social media, your blog, YouTube channel, wherever. Building and connecting with your fan base is going to be your primary book marketing activity from the time you self-publish, actually before that, until you decide to take your book off off the market. Sometimes that may include advertising on social media to draw in new fans. Next, your book sales forecast. Based on my experience and observation, I've estimated that only a couple % of your author fans will actually buy your book, actually closer to 1%. Ouch! Though there are no guarantees, that is a realistic forecast of how many books you might sell in your first year after self-publishing. Next, cost of your self-published book. Related to the question of self-publishing platform choice is cost. You could even self-publish for almost free on Kindle Direct Publishing or KDP. But that doesn't mean there are no costs to self-publishing. If you need help with editing, proofreading, interior page formatting, or book cover design, that could add hundreds or thousands of dollars to your total self-publishing investment. And you need to weigh those costs against how much you might make from book sales. From my 2016 and 2018 Thorne Self-Publishing surveys of real self-published authors, 73% of them in both years make less than $1,000 a year from their books. Don't forget, too, that self-publishing is a business. You also have costs to run your author adventure, such as website hosting, advertising, internet service, office expenses, and more. While those expenses are not a cost to self-publish, they can dramatically impact your net self-publishing income. Last, pricing your self-published book. I've encountered so many authors who don't have a clue about how to price their books, so they end up either overpricing or underpricing their work. But I do have sympathy for them because setting prices for any product or service is both a science and an art. Most self-published authors don't come from a business or marketing background, which makes book pricing a confusing guessing game. That being said, pricing your book is a skill you must learn, even if it's tough. So what's next? I hope through this quiz you've discovered what you need to help make your self-publishing experience more satisfying and successful while avoiding embarrassing and expensive mistakes. As you continue to build your self-publishing skills and knowledge, you might want to come on back to this quiz and retake it to see how you're progressing. And in addition to this podcast audio and video, I have a blog and I also have a course on Udemy titled How to Sell Your Self-Published Book on Amazon, which I would recommend, which does a deep dive into a lot of these topics, especially about forecasting and building author platform issues. So I will include a link to that as well in the show description. If you did find this helpful, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast platform you like to use. I'm on all the major ones: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean. Pick your favorite. I am probably there. If you like the YouTube video better, you just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so you get an alert when a new video is up. I would appreciate it if you would share the audio or the video with your friends on social media. My self-published books, including Self-Publishing to Make Money, What You Need to Know, are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is search for my name, Heidi Thorne. My author page will come up on those sites, and you'll see a list of all available titles. If you'd like to connect with me, my website is HeidiThorne.com, and I'm most active on the social channels of Instagram and TikTok at Heidi Thorne. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I look forward to talking with you again in the next episode, and in the meantime, have a great day.